Okay, so another session of the ALM big debate, and we're going to get straight into it with just each person's quick view on how they felt about the latest Star Wars film. We're going to start with Jonathan. If you just want to give us your 5
Well, I'm going to be in a bit of a weird position because I haven't actually seen the last one, but I don't think I'm going to be going to see it in the cinema because I don't want to give Disney no more of my money. I reckon Disney murdered the franchise, and it's not coming back anytime soon. I've seen all the others, and I'm kind of disappointed in the last 3. The first one of the newer 3, Force Awakens, had the potential to go into a nice trilogy, but Last Jedi killed it for me, man. So I've kind of heard all the spoilers. I'm not really up for seeing it, so I was just interested to see what everyone else thought about it. Especially Gavin, because Gavin was not happy with Last Jedi. I didn't really believe him. I was kind of like, hey, let's give it a chance. But now I'm like, nah, mate. Disney just did something terrible to the franchise, man.
Wow. Okay.
That's my 5 cents.
You know what? You're not alone. Gavin's same as Gavin. He hasn't seen the film either. We're going to move swiftly on to Emmanuel. So I'm just going to unmute you, Emmanuel, so you can say your piece, and then we'll move on to the next person.
Are we allowed spoilers in this though?
Yeah. I mean, Gavin and Jonathan have waived their rights to not know anything about the film by being on this panel. So just go for it, man.
Yeah, I wasn't actually going to go and see it actually, but I thought, you know what? In order to take part in this, I went and saw it.
Okay.
But otherwise, I was in no rush to go and see it, to be honest.
Okay. Just in a nutshell, what's your feeling on it?
Neither here or there. It's just, it's not really. Yeah, it doesn't do it anymore. For me, I mean, pretty much what Jonathan and Gavin have said. It's
okay.
It's not really going to paying money to go and see. That's why I saw it on the cheap.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, well, we'll be coming back to you shortly. So I'm going to go over to, I'm going to try Deval again. Hopefully, Deval, you can speak now.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, say your piece.
Yeah,
First of all, where are you? Are you driving, right? You're not in...
I'm in a car, yeah, but I've stopped. I'm just waiting.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I went in there with low expectations. Since the last Star Wars, I wasn't really expecting much, and I think because of that, I kind of enjoyed it. It's just a film. It's just a sci-fi action film, and yeah, I wasn't just really expecting too much, and that was it really. I think overall, it was from the start to finish, action galore. The pace was quite quick actually for some people, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good ride. It was cool film.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moving on to Gavin. I think we can all know what to expect, but Gavin.
I don't think Wakanda's seen it, man. You're lying. I don't think you've actually. I don't think you've actually seen the film. I've been on. I said from the off, I'm on Star Wars strike after the last one. I'm not doing it. I'm refusing, flatly refusing to go and watch any of them after Last Jedi. I don't even call that Star Wars. It's called Last Jedi. Awful film. Worst film. I say that out of all of these three films make the flipping George Lucas, Phantom Menace and them ones look good in terms of story. Maybe not in the CGI, but the storyline. At least there's a story in them 3. The best one out of all them films is Rogue One.
Wait, Gavin, you're jumping ahead because we're going to come to all of that. But I just wanted to get your.
I ain't watching it, man.
Just your thought.
I'm actually not going to watch it. I don't care if someone put it on a TV. I'm not watching that shit. I'd rather leave it. But I mean, the thing that killed it for me in The Last Jedi was how Force Awakens end and you met Luke. And then you wait a year or 2 and a man dashes a lightsaber over his shoulder. He's taking a piss. That and Leia flying through space. Like, when did the Force do that?
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna come back to that because those are valid points. But I just wanted to get like everyone's 5 cents just straight off the bat. So I mean, I'm still hoping that a few more people come in and give their 5 cents worth as well. But I'm gonna open up, open debate. Everyone gets to say what they want to say. But just personally, I'm falling more towards the camp that Deval's in. So low expectations, wasn't massively interested, but I did enjoy the ride. I thought it was okay. Some things I'm glad that they did, but I think for most of us, there was just no way they were going to be able to come back from the way that they took it. But hey, I'm not a massive Star Wars fan anyway, so I'm not. If they'd done sort of a madness with, say, Avengers, that's a different story. But with Star Wars, I was never a massive fan to begin with, but I do feel for all the people that feel like they've had their childhood robbed. So, I do feel for you, Gav. And yeah, I hope the Mandalorian hopefully can redeem your faith. But yeah, okay, so I'm going to open it up to everyone. Just taking it off from Gavin.
I started watching that Mandalorian shit, and like, yeah, it's gone back to like animatronics and all that shit, puppets and shit. But that's the 70s, 80s. Let's move forward, mate. Like, that's a gimmick as far as I'm concerned.
You're not
you don't like the Mandalorian?
I watched about 5-10 minutes of it, and I just couldn't be fucked. I was just like, you know what? It's just enough. Like, after Last Jedi, it's enough. It is. It
sounds like Last Jedi has really just killed it. You're not interested in anything Star Wars anymore.
Listen, Matt, I'll break it. I'm a massive Star Wars fan. So I'm telling you, the last 3 films were just based on the original 3. But The Force Awakens is a carbon copy of A New Hope. Like, it's like probably word for word, if it could, it would be. The whole idea of what they're doing and what they're trying to achieve in that film is the exact same thing in the original. The only thing with that one, the new one, there's some bullshit flaws in it that never existed in the original. It's like, I've waited 30, 40 years for you to tell me that shit. And then I thought, okay, I'll let that one slide and I'll give that a blow. But then when they came with Last Jedi and she was flying through space, I'm like, you're now actually taking me for a complete and utter fool. Like, I know what goes on, and now you're showing me this. Okay, fair enough, you can show that. I know it's probably not for me, it's for the kids, and the kids can't question it because they probably haven't seen the original. So I get that. So I don't think any of these films were designed for us to be actually talking about now. I think they're designed for a new generation that don't get it, and they can just be sold a whole new franchise over and over again. And that's,
do you know what? You've hit the nail on the head there, Gavin, because I'm glad you've acknowledged that, because it's quite important. Like, Disney aren't really thinking about the fans as much. No. They are thinking about the long dollar, the long pound.
Well, they paid $4 billion or whatever it is. So they want their P back. I'm not surprised. And that's, people are getting it twisted. That's why I'm not buying into it. It's not just because I think it's rubbish, but I understand the franchise isn't for me. And unfortunately, or fortunately, my children grew up on the old franchise. So to spoon them that shit, they're not having it. So it's not going to work, man. Like, it's just not. Like, in the first one, was it Force Awakens? New Hope, part of the problem was, I think they had to go to a planet to get the shield down in order for you to be able to attack the Death Star. In Force Awakens, they made up a thing where if the Millennium Falcon hits a certain speed at a certain amount, like, it can get through it. What? All this time, all you have to do is lick a certain speed and you could get through the force field. You're taking the actual piss. So from that, I was like, you know what? Hey, that's a piss take, but okay, I can see what you're trying to do. But then, sorry, Last Jedi was a joke, an absolute joke. And it was a joke.
Just before we go any further, we just had a latest addition to the team. So Paul Dunkley, he's also a big fan of Star Wars. Paul, we've just all had a chance to just talk about our initial response and feeling about the latest film. You're unmuted at the moment. If you want to just introduce yourself and then just give like a couple of moments on what you think.
It's another Civ.
1 second. Yes.
Hey.
How you doing? Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Oh, that's much better. That's much better. Okay, now you're one of the Jedi. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, go for it, Paul.
All right. What do you want me to say?
So just your initial response to the film. Everyone's had their moment, talked about various things. No one seems to be very happy. A couple of people haven't seen it. But yeah, just wondering where you fit in this whole mix.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it started off so kind of like it had to do a lot. It had to kind of answer a lot of questions. It almost had to kind of work in unison to The Last Jedi, which is pretty unfortunate. So I felt like he couldn't have his own voice in it, unfortunately. And so for me, the first hour particularly was kind of a mess. It was just so much going on. And honestly, I kind of was just interested in what Rey's kind of timeline, what was going to be answered with her, how everything was going to be tied up. It was just too much heavy lifting generally, and I think it just showed in the film generally. I mean, that's my sort of high level.
Okay, that's cool. That's all fair. Okay, we've also just had someone else join. Aaron.
Yeah.
So everyone's just had their time to just give like their initial thoughts and responses to the film. If you just want to give your sort of 5 cents worth on what you thought about it after watching. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Sorry. Yeah, go for it.
I want to break it down as like, I'm a major fan of the original trilogy. And I think that since they've incorporated these last 3 movies, they've tried their very hardest to try and make something wonderful. But yet, the story, the entire plot behind the movies hasn't worked out as well as they think it. I think there's just a lot of loose ends, especially in this last movie. And I think, well, obviously, I'm pretty sure we're going to elaborate probably later on in this conversation, but I just feel like that they had very high hopes for a lot of things in this movie that just did not tick the boxes, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I feel like we're all kind of saying the same thing in different ways, but no one seems to have been happy with the end, like with the last outcome. No one, but apart from Deval, who said that he enjoyed the ride, but had lower expectations, similar to myself.
I think that's what you have
That
to.
likes anything.
That's what you've got to go.
I like anything. You know what? For me, Star Wars, I'm not as precious with it. And I think every film is like, let's say now, this group of people right now, were to go back in time and watch the original Star Wars with a blank canvas. We'll have things to say about that too.
Nah.
Nah, you know what? Nah, I disagree.
Nah,
things to say about it.
You're lying.
Disagree with you strongly there. Let me listen. Star Wars has always been about 2 things: story and feel. There's always been a story and a feel to Star Wars. All the original 3 had it. Even the prequel trilogies, everyone was gunning for Jar Jar Binks and all that. It still had a story and a feel. Yeah. And for me, the only one that had feel and story in this one was Rogue One. Rogue One for me killed it. I thought
100%.
Thank you, Ronaldo. I thought when Rogue One came out, I said to Gavin, that film was heavy.
Nah, you're an idiot though.
I'm not. And he cussed me for that. He cussed me for that. I still stand by that. But now,
shit. That's blasphemy. You're overlooking Empire Strikes Back. That's not just the best Star Wars. That's one of the best films ever made.
Yeah, true.
I'm not trying to say that these ones are better. All I'm saying is we will still have some gaps to say about the original ones.
What I'm saying is,
I don't agree.
What I'm saying is the story and the feel is enough for us to get what we need out of those films. There might be stuff that we might be saying, but we enjoyed the film and we enjoyed the story. We enjoyed things out of it.
Yes.
But
it's not even that, right? It's not even that. With the original trilogy, right, there was a lead up to know that what was coming with Vader and the Emperor. It was always a plot and ending. We knew what was possibly going to come out of it. And the suspense of it made it better. But with this kind of trilogy, there was no true enemy. At first, it was going to be Kylo Ren. The second movie, it then became Snoke, and then in the final movie, we found out it's the Emperor. There was no lead up to that. There was no knowledge about that. We did not know who the true enemy in this last few movies.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't agree with that.
Well, Gavin, it's going to be difficult. There's going to be a moment where you're not going to agree 100% with anything.
No. But what he's saying in terms of the lead up, and you knew in the originals, you didn't know in the originals. You're looking at them in from you're looking at it because you was probably a kid. And you probably saw them all backwards and jumbled up or some shit. But if you actually watched them as an adult now and watched them like the first one, you wouldn't know nothing about what was going to happen.
But we knew that the main enemy was the Empire. In this one, in the original trilogy, we knew that the Empire was the main enemy. And this one, it came on to the First Order. Then it became obviously a whole thing with Snoke. And then the last one is now, of course, is the Final Order. There was no sense to it. There was no sense to the story.
In the original 3, the main enemy at the beginning was Vader. It wasn't the Emperor. The Emperor was in it.
There was mention of the Emperor in the first movie, in the first original trilogy. So we knew that the Emperor was the main villain.
He was pulling the strings. Everyone was answering to him.
Yeah, but he wasn't. The main villain was Vader, like standard, like in all 3 of them, to the point where he turned and he wasn't a villain. He became a bit of a hero. And you didn't see that coming. I mean, I think the first 3 had elements of surprise on every single one of them, which were brilliant. I think the fact that the bad guys won in the second one in a manner they won and they battered them, and then the whole when he turned on in the third one, I don't particularly like Return of the Jedi that much, but now all these other films have come out, I appreciate it far more than I ever used to. I used to hate it, but now. It's like, in comparison to these new ones, it's brilliant.
Sorry, Deval, just noticed that Elliot's with you. Is it okay for you to
up to, man?
A little mention? Was you there the whole time?
No, he just joined.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, Elliot, if you just want to jump in with what your thoughts are on what you saw.
My feelings. The film was okay. It was just okay, and it made up for the part 8. It made up for part 8 because part 8 was just rubbish. It made up for part 7 because part 7 was rubbish as well for me personally, but. It's at least linked 7 and 9 together because the part 8 was just random. They tried to link it up. I don't think they were very good films because they brought back the old characters. If they never brought them back, I thought they would have been fine. But they brought back old characters, and the nostalgia thing came above everything else about the film. If they just carried on from when. From like the old series, from like 6, and carried on with the same characters, it would have been fine. But bringing back Harrison Ford, all them guys, it just made it all too. You can't expand with that film. The film was just a bit of a mess for me. Yeah. I love Star Wars, but it's just not enough for me. It was okay.
Fair enough. Okay. There is one thing that they did that I felt was the only way to go with it, because as much as no one really wanted to see Palpatine come back, his presence did kind of explain why Rey was so powerful from the beginning, because that's one thing that irked me massively. I was like, she's too powerful. Like, not even Luke, Anakin, none of them became such masters of their skills so quickly. And we learn it's because she had the Emperor ability from the get-go. So
that was messed up as well.
I mean, it's all messed up, but I just thought that helped.
I think that was their last saving grace, to be fair.
Yeah.
I want to be honest. That literally had to pull up like a blank card or a safety card just to say.
Wait, hold on. So she's a Sith?
Yeah.
No, well, she has the bloodline of Palpatine.
She's related to Palpatine.
Yeah.
Shit, now, man. You lot taking that piss out of people.
Okay. Right. How come the Rey's mum and dad, or Rey's dad, whoever was Palpatine's child, how comes they didn't have this power?
Yeah, that's an
Most
area.
How come
gonna
they
skip.
just get killed? How come they just get killed? Why do they get killed? What was the story behind that? There's
They
like
weren't
nothing
her
to it.
parents.
Oh
They
yeah,
weren't
What's
her
that?
parents.
that's right. Yeah, Emmanuel, that's right. What Emmanuel just said is true. They weren't the actual parents. The actual
Who's the
parents.
parents then?
No, they admitted it in the last movie. They said that that Palpatine's son carried Rey away to try and keep her away from the Emperor, but they got killed by some assassin that the Emperor sent.
Really?
Yeah,
You
that's
pay
what they
too
said.
much attention to that shit, man. Like, wow. I'm actually in shock that she's a Sith. That's just some dumb shit.
That's
Dunno.
rubbish.
It is absolute rubbish.
A youngling Sith.
But then what's she done? She's learning the way of the Jedi, but she's a Sith.
But wait,
From what I understand, a Sith can't be a Jedi.
You become a Sith from your actions, isn't it? Not from your, like, you know,
Your
the blood is
your
still
lineage.
force sensitive.
That's
But what you do with it
that's
makes you
I've
bullshit.
got a question though. I've got a
It's like
question.
Anakin was a Jedi
Anakin
dynasty.
was never a Jedi. Like he was, but it was like he turned to the dark side. You don't go from the dark.
But he could have stayed at the light side.
Yeah, but you're doing it
changed
the other
him.
way around. You're going from the dark side to the light side. How? No.
He's born with a blank canvas, but with strong ability.
But don't, yeah,
and,
but, yeah,
and how,
yeah.
like with all humans, you're born with a blank canvas. Your lifestyle will make you be a bad man, or make you be.
No.
Hold on. Develop your
But
Gavin.
don't.
The dark side is based on fear and stuff like that. You're not born like that's not your life.
Which is what
That's something you're
Anakin
born.
experienced with Padme, because she was going to die or whatever. So he was. His
fear
turned into hate, and his hate turned
He was
into
more
dark.
drawn.
It was deeper than
I've got a
that.
question though.
It come from his parents being killed and all types of shit. It's not just like that one chick. It was he always had it. He was displaying.
You're actually winning my argument. So if his parents wasn't killed, if Padme didn't, whatever, he would have stayed light. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. So then what you're saying is in terms
would have
of
stayed light.
What I'm saying is in order for this chick to be able to be practicing the Sith, she has to have elements of dark in her, and she doesn't. So how does that make any fucking sense?
The situation was that because that these particular people, if you even let's rule out Vader and call them Anakin at this point, and the same thing for I think it's Rey that we're getting involved. These people are very powerful people. Sorry, not Rey. Kylo Ren, or call him Ben in this case. These people were powerful Jedi or powerful Force wielders, but it was because of the midichlorians that Anakin had. It flowed very powerful throughout his bloodline. But of course, the Sith Lords want that power. So obviously they try to sway these powerful people onto their side.
Okay, but the other thing that I want to ask as well, right, is from my understanding, the Sith recruit. They don't have like a bloodline.
No,
yeah,
but
they recruit.
Unlike Skywalker.
What's your question?
Okay, so Rey being a Palpatine, that didn't make sense to me because it seemed
the Last Jedi,
all the ones
the Last Jedi was a mess.
All the Last Jedi was a mess. They all had like Skywalker as a surname, and it seemed like all of them had like. It seemed more clear to me that they all followed on.
You're right. You're 100% right, and it would make sense if they continued the Skywalker thing. But like Duval was about to say, that the Last Jedi
was a mess.
Shit.
Remember, they were supposed to. It was supposed to be a different director that directed it. He got fired. So the director that did it now, J.J. Abrams, he came on late, and then he had to obviously figure out the story and obviously appease all the bigwigs and tick all the boxes to make something more insidious, a big bad that all the audience can justify it being the end of the trilogy.
Yeah.
So who can they think of that's a big bad that we all know? Darth Sidious. Bring him back.
Yeah.
And how many people have come back in the past in Star Wars? Everyone comes back.
The one thing that I think everyone's forgetting here is that George Lucas wrote the story treatment for the last 3 films, and they ignored it. They ignored his story, and then they cobbled together they're agenda-driven ideas. It's not based on story. It's based on agenda, the new Disney agenda of like female empowerment, all this kind of stuff. So all the stuff that we're arguing about now, we're trying to logically piece together a story out of their rubbish, basically.
Yeah.
And so
you're getting bent out of shape. You're bent out
yeah.
of
So
shape.
what we're arguing, we're all arguing what we want the story to be, or what we want the.
Yeah, because you're talking from an old perspective. It's not for you.
It's not even.
For kids.
It's not about old. It's not even about old or young. It's just about a story. There was no through line. There was no through line.
But if it was for you, it would continue the original story. It wouldn't.
It doesn't have to. It doesn't even have to continue the original story. This has to be a through line.
Yeah.
There's no through line. It's not.
Wait, hold on, Gavin. Let Jonathan finish, because
that's what I'm saying. The only thing the thing that was missing was a story, a through line between all three films. We're all debating, Palpatine this from the beginning. That explains why she was so powerful. Blah 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 blah. All they did was cobble together 3 random stories. They didn't follow George Lucas's treatments. They didn't have even the same story boarding ideas throughout the whole 3 trilogy. They were figuring out what was going on while they were making the films, and that is to me.
To be honest, I feel like, because even though George Lucas did write all 3 of the original films, there were 3 different directors, I think.
Yeah, directors are right though, but he had an overall story for what he wanted to happen in the trilogy.
Yeah,
and that's what
that was definitely missing from this one. But Jonathan, who's to say that George Lucas would have had a good story for this one?
No one. We wouldn't know. But from his past experience, the first trilogy, the second trilogy.
You know what? Since his first experience, he's come out of some duds. So I'm just, as much as we had
the first 3 weren't duds.
The first 3 weren't duds. The second 3 weren't duds.
No, I'm talking about Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of.
But we're not talking about
it. Don't talk about it.
Not everyone needs to remember that film, because that was.
Yeah, but then remember.
Also, he directed Phantom Menace.
Oh. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
But for me, Phantom Menace, they had one of the best baddies, one of the best scores, one of the best fights in Star Wars. Full stop.
Yeah. I don't like
you. Certain saving aspects of that film.
Why'd you? Should I come on Marvel and start telling you shit?
No.
I've had enough of you in this shit. Stop saying that Rogue One's the best Star Wars. Stop saying
Rogue One was a bad film. Come on now.
It was wicked. It was a very good film. It was a good film.
It's heavy.
Give you that.
The best.
One of the best
it's
films.
The best out of the new one.
Favorite.
Yeah.
It's the best out of the new ones. By
we can all agree on that. Yeah, we can all agree on that.
That whole Darth Vader clip was better than the all 3 movies.
Yeah, exactly.
It was by far.
I'll give you that.
So what are we saying are the main failings? Like, I mean, I think Jonathan's already touched on it. Like the fact that there was no true story, it wasn't one connected thread.
I think you're not seeing the bigger picture of it. Like, we can all sit and be annoyed at it. Yeah, it's in terms of if you're looking at it from our age and our perspective of what the story should be, and it should be a through story and that. But you're not looking at it from, as John, you said, it's an agenda. It's simply that. You see how like all the Marvel films have gone? They're not looking at it as like giving a straight, clean story, so it's a beginning to end. They're looking at spin-offs. They're looking at where they can take certain characters. They're looking at linking. This is just kind of like the corkboard for them to stick more pins in it and have different stories coming off this universe. They don't want to kill it off. They don't want to give you any definitive.
The problem is though, Gavin. I get that. And Star Wars is a huge franchise. I 100% agree. They're trying to find new avenues. It's possible, but they class it themselves that this is going to be the final movie. So why would you then? Potentially lying to the entire fans, and I get that, and I take that. But none of the other Star Wars movies ever class it as the final movie. They enter the saga. So why would you then start to make gaps in the movie?
Because they'll change the saga to more of a different character. It'll probably be more character driven by one other person. Or I just think maybe people, especially like these films and that, they're recognizing that it's not that nobody goes to the cinema no more, but the future is probably in series and these TV series and stuff. So they
sure. I agree with that. I totally agree with what you're saying.
They don't have to distribute it amongst.
I think when they mention about it being the last, I think it's coming from the fact that they killed off a lot of the characters anyway from like our old school, times where in this new one they tried to kill off Chewbacca, but
did they kill him?
No.
They basically sort of like went back on themselves. Like they basically killed him off to add the suspense or whatever, but they've already killed off all the other characters, Han Solo and all of them lot, and basically it's kind of like starts a fresh slate.
It's just meant to be the last in the Skywalker
that's right.
Skywalker saga. Star Wars is coming out again in 2022. That's way too soon for me. Yeah. That's way too soon.
Gavin, you were saying that their agenda is to go, start spinning off and all this kind of rubbish. The best way to make the property that they've just acquired valuable is to keep the stories good, keep them of a quality. They know that they messed up the ending of the Star Wars franchise, and I know loads of people were like, "That's it, I'm done with Star Wars." Loads of people weren't going to get Disney Plus because they're not into Star Wars anymore. Some people might, but if they just done a story and kept the feel, they would have got hundreds of millions more people to be into the franchise, the young and the old. You're saying it weren't made for us. It might not have been made for us, but if they had got us on board, they could have had the young and the old through to the next generation, and then it would have.
They got you on board. They got you on board on Force Awakens, and then you introduce your youths to it, thinking you're going to see something that's reminiscent to what you remember. Then you was a bit flaky about it because this isn't quite the same. Then they completely took your youths and took you on The Last Jedi and X'd you out. Once that point comes.
What? But are you saying that was their strategy?
Yeah, I think there is a strategy.
That wasn't a strategy. They messed it up. They messed up.
They messed up Last Jedi. That's not what I'm saying. But you're missing the track record of Disney. Disney do not. They don't lose like that. I mean, they've regurgitated the Lion King.
For real.
That Lion King was shocking. So I mean,
the person they put on board
to recycle.
Gavin, 100% agree.
The person they put on board for The Last Jedi was Rian Johnson. Now I know some of you on this panel might think that might really like him, but I wasn't happy with what he did with Looper, and I kind of thought that he may have some sort of messing around with the story, which I think he did. I think he did have quite a lot to do with some of the outcomes of the story.
He wrote and directed.
Yeah, he did, definitely.
He was the only credited writer.
Yeah, and I don't think that had any improvement on what we saw. And unfortunately, the other thing as well is that he had like a Star Wars, his own Star Wars sort of a story or collection of films signed up before you even finished the film. All of a sudden, there's not as much of an incentive to treat it as a valuable thing if you know you've got some other stuff lined up. So there's other things. It's not just Disney. I think we're attributing too much to Disney destroying.
Well, who pays him?
Yeah, but still, they're giving him license to do something. So.
But you know what though, right? When Force Awakens came down, a lot of the fans got all caught up on the hype train because they had all them old people in there again. Luke was back again. Han was back. Leia was back. Yeah. They all got caught up in this whole film. The film was rubbish. Yeah, everybody wanted this nostalgia trip. Everybody wanted this nostalgia trip and got caught up in the whole hype of it. The film was from that film. If we took away all them characters and saw the film for what it was, we would have gone, oh, you know what? This film isn't right. You need to come better. But because everybody went along with it, the second one came out. That was rubbish. And now this one's come out, and the whole trilogy is a mess because everybody got caught up in the whole nostalgia. If they called it out from the very beginning and said this isn't really good enough, you shouldn't be bringing these people back to try and build the film up. It should be carrying on from when I don't think the last one ended. Had a second Death Star got blown up. They should have carried on from that point on and followed the whole thing through.
Didn't they?
But you got
in the desert.
30 years through.
It wasn't. Yeah, but the mistake wasn't that the mistake wasn't that they brought back old characters for nostalgia. The mistake was they didn't use them properly in a story. Yeah, that's the only thing.
It just felt like they were trying to reboot it.
They brought old characters back for Rogue One, and Rogue One had a story that worked. So it's not just nostalgia.
World character. It was only Vader. It worked.
There was only Vader. There was other people.
There was Leia in it. There was Han. There was all those people. All the story continued. The story continued.
Leia was in it.
Sorry, Leia. Leia and Darth Vader. The story continued from the original story that we knew, and it was a story. It wasn't just the fact that they linked. That's what I'm saying. There was no link.
That's only 5 minutes.
Vader at
the end.
He's got a point.
It was still part of the story.
He's got a point. He's got a point about the fact that they're not using the characters properly. For me, that was one of my biggest problems with Force Awakens. Is that now you got Han Solo. From what I remember of Return of the Jedi, he ended up as a general. How's a general still doing this kind of cargo smuggling shit and getting mugged off by some next kind of waste man? I didn't understand why he still had that air of being this kind of. He's a general. He could kind of pull whatever. He had no authority. It was almost just like, we're going to bring these characters back and make light of it. Kind of a bit like.
He didn't want to come back as well. He didn't want to come back. He wanted to end that Jedi.
Yeah, but he still came back in the last one.
He came back in it.
Yeah,
but he had to, because they originally wanted Princess Leia to be that word that spoke to Kylo Ren to bring him to the light side. But because she's actually dead, they had to bring back Harrison Ford instead.
They could have CGI'd.
Come on, no. They weren't doing that. That was something that they agreed they would never do. So everything that you saw was unused footage from Force Awakens and Last Jedi. They said out of respect, they're not going to CGI her.
Yeah.
Man, she flew, man. She was flying in space.
Yeah, that's long. That's long. That's long.
Come on.
But again, even like, did you see the scene? Like, she flew first, then she gets to the door, and it opened the door to space, and she gets into the ship.
Nothing happened.
How's she
nothing happened?
Someone told me she just blew there by accident.
She's supposed to be a Jedi.
I think they've overhyped Leia. They overhyped Leia.
That's not in the Force. That you don't.
No, but she's supposed to have the Force.
Yeah, but that is
no, she
not.
doesn't have the Force. In the comics, she goes through some deep training. In the comics, there's a period where she goes through like proper training, but she just doesn't really carry out being a Jedi Knight. But she's Force heavy.
But it's even in the last few clips of the recent movie. And imagine, right? Rey is somehow got this mastery of the Force. You remember, she was literally flying in the air with rocks coming about her. She had 3 lessons with Luke, and then somehow with Leia, she's literally become this master of the Force. It makes no sense. How is the grandmaster of a new generation of Jedi trained? You had 3 lessons with her, right? But then Leia comes around, and then.
But hold on, Kylo Ren and Rey in the last three movies, they are like super more powerful than their previous predecessors. Like when I thought when I watched this recent one that their powers is like everything messed up. But when I watched the other 2, I saw that there's a consistency with the level of power that they've got. So like Kylo Ren, his one was like super more powerful than Luke, and then she was also of the same thread as Kylo Ren. And so when in this one, there's a scene where Kylo Ren actually takes the beads from her neck. And
what's this Force Skype shit, man? How they able to Force Skype and go to someone else's where they are and touch? That's a big power.
What I'm saying. I know that. That's what I'm saying. So when I saw that, then I watched the other 2. On the other two, as far as it goes, is basically they can communicate to each other.
Yeah, Emmanuel, it's a maturing of the Force. The Force.
But what I'm saying though is Aaron was talking about the level, the power level. What I was saying is that the power level in these recent ones.
What I was saying was that how did she get so talented under Leia's training when she wasn't even a master herself, but when Luke,
it's the Palpatine blood, maybe. It's a Palpatine blood.
Yeah, that's the only way that explains it. That's the only thing.
Possibly Palpatine blood.
Yeah.
That's why she was doing thunder with her fingers, like straight away. When
So
the anger
anything-
came out.
Exactly. Anything that doesn't make sense, you just put it to that.
I also think it's an advancement in technology.
Before that, there was nothing. There was nothing.
Yeah, but
I couldn't accept.
I think it was Paul. Paul mentioned it. Paul mentioned it earlier that they had a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
I think that plays part in why. In this last one, they had so like it doesn't like what you were saying, Aaron, is that how does it explain 3 lessons with Luke and then one short period with Princess Leia, and then she's all
to get so controlled.
Like some prodigy.
She's hitting power levels higher than Yoda. I ain't got time for this story, you know. I don't have time for this story.
Maybe she went into the hyperbolic time chamber.
I'm telling you, Anakin to become Vader, he was trained from a boy and into an adult to become Vader. You're telling me literally I'm pretty sure this was like a few months in between. It must have been
a man. Luke turned into a man, you know. Luke was a youth. Luke turned into a man before he was hitting them levels. He's hitting months of training with two, 3 sessions. Are you mad? I ain't got time for this, lad. I ain't got time for this. 2, 3 sessions. She's licking lightning. Yes. She's like blowing.
I agree with a lot of heavy lifting in this one, right? And so all of these shortcuts.
FaceTiming, man. I ain't got time. FaceTiming, you know. I ain't got time for this.
Yeah, it's too much unexplained answers. Too unexplained questions in these last 3 movies. And then next, in this last one, you're seeing like clones of Snoke in this big jar, saying that the Emperor's the entire time with Emperor control. Who's got time for that?
But as much as it is all silly, at least they did it. It's almost like we have to fill in the gaps. There are some massive holes. At least let's try and put something in some of them. Because when I saw that, I was
with the cloning stuff, I think the whole Exodore thingy, I think that also might link to Mandalorian.
I was going to say
Baby Yoda. Because I think the snake, the what's his name? Palpatine we saw isn't physically the Palpatine that died. It's a clone of him, but his essence is put into that clone. That's what there's sort of like whispers of.
In the Mandalorian,
where they were,
that's what they're saying.
They're
saying the clone technology is Sith.
No, it's too much. It's too
technology is Sith.
The clone, man. They love a clone, innit?
It's too much for one movie, guys. I'm not gonna lie. You're putting a lot of information. But don't forget, this is supposed to be a continuation.
The film should be 3 hours. It should be 3 hours.
I agree. It's too much.
It had to be endgame long, It was too quick. 2 hours and 20 for all that.
But even if it was longer, I don't think they could have done any better. Like,
it would have been perfect, but we'd have more time to flesh out certain things.
Yeah.
We'll have less to argue about, maybe. Who knows? I mean,
maybe.
Yeah, but Val, the reason at the beginning when we was talking about how we felt about it, I felt that Val's approach and Abby's approach was the best way to go about it. Is just not have high expectations and just enjoy it for it being a movie and not too not too much brain matter to be used upon really on watching the movie.
I think it's easier said than done though.
I know that, but then it also links to Gavin being that it's for these, it's for people who aren't, who don't have the memory of all the originals and can just go in and basically be watching the movie as it is.
I agree. But I personally think that the only reason that these films would have been successful if they got rid of the original cast.
Thank you.
They got rid of most of them.
Yeah, but then I'm
talking about from the very beginning, not to introduce.
If that's the case,
make as reference, sure. Yeah. Putting them as like say, you could then say that okay, fine, I'm a descendant of Skywalker, or I'm a descendant of Palpatine, fine. But don't bring in the actual characters.
Yeah, but you could go back to Jonathan. What Jonathan said. You could go back to what Jonathan said, and that when you bring in back an old character, maybe it's the best way is to use them properly.
No, but that's the problem. You're talking. If you're talking about they're using them as like the original trilogy, it's not going to happen.
Because they didn't use it properly.
But you have to understand that these. We have to understand these
characters decided by board of directors. They sit there with spreadsheets and think, how are we going to get the older demographic? How are we going to get the young ones? How are we going to get this? And that's why they brought the older people, the newer people. That's why they have a strong lead female. That's why they want Finn there. That's why they want these two ladies kissing.
Yeah.
They have to tick a lot of boxes.
That's where they went wrong then. That's where they shouldn't have done that. They should have done that on the side. The main thing should have been the story and the feel of Star Wars. If that's what they wanted to do, they should have disconnected totally from the Skywalker saga. Why make it Skywalker? Just make a totally different trilogy. Just make a totally different trilogy.
Because what they never did.
You're gonna get next. That's what's happening next, not now. That's the thing.
No, but what they never did was they never explained, for example, where the old characters have been properly. They never, like what John's saying is, like there's no, like even in the old films, you knew without seeing Yoda that he had a history and it kept getting spoken about, and you knew it was someone of before you actually met him.
Okay, so the dispute is, for me, I'm feeling that the dispute here is that Lucas was the one when the originals came out. It was Lucas' creativity that was basically, made it what it is today. Now it's basically gone into Disney's hand, and you're having to deal with suits who are thinking about all of the analytics and big data and trying to appease something that has been great, has been great for consistently for many years, and now it's not. These people within the suits don't have the creativity. They're not thinking with that mind, and they're thinking in terms of making the money. They bought
But that's not necessarily true per se, because Lucas, don't get it twisted, creativity and all that shit. You don't think that man was thinking about the Pete? You don't understand how much. When he made the toys,
But his one was a better balance of it though.
No, he knew from the off. He knew the value of what he had.
When the prequel trilogy happened, that was also very divisive. A lot of people were unhappy with that.
Yeah.
So they've come from
because of the CGI was whack, but there was a story.
There was a few other things. I mean, it was very boring. It's boring.
The CGI was whack and the dialogue was awful. But other than that, there was an actual story.
But precisely.
Okay. Yeah.
Precisely. With the prequels, there was something. I must admit, episode 1 was diabolical. But the thing is, you saw things how progressed. You generally saw how Yoda's council was like. You generally saw how Obi-Wan became the man he was in episode 4, and where Anakin even began. But with this particular trilogy, they're trying to hold on to something which is practically no longer there. They're bringing young characters from 1977, then bringing them back to 2019 to try and reanimate the same characters. It doesn't make sense.
It's the thing as well, right? When they're going forward now moving forward, what they have to do now is fill in the gap. What happened between?
That's what I said.
From episode 6 to episode 7, they have to fill that gap in somehow through TV
But that's what I'm saying. You don't know where they've been.
TV shows, through movies, through something. They have to fill that gap because we don't know what the fuck happened in that whole time. What happened with Ben? What happened with?
But they tried.
Who of the fan base is going to trust? Who's going to trust their storytelling to do that?
I don't think they can. I don't think they can do that. They can't do what you're saying. That gap there can't go
backwards. If they can't go backwards, how are they going to go forward?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that gap you're talking about.
The only thing they can do really is to explore an entirely different story. With the start from scratch.
How are they going to move forward with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that gap you're talking about can't be filled because you'll need the old characters. You're not going to get someone that looks like Harrison Ford in between
ages. They don't have to look like them.
Right.
They don't have to look like them. They could be anybody.
Do you know what else for me? You see when Bruce Lee died and they needed to complete Game of Death, have you ever seen when they stuck someone else's face on his head, on his body? It's the same type of shit.
But don't forget...
But
don't forget though, the Han Solo movie incorporated a new Han Solo for that movie.
Exactly.
But he was young, though.
But then it was a different character. They didn't use any.
No.
It was just a different actor. It was no
That's not
animation.
a fair comparison. The Han Solo's film was a prequel, so of course he's going to be young. You're not going to have Harrison Ford doing that.
But it had content of obviously how he met Chewie, how he had the Falcon.
Yeah.
There was lineups to it, kind of like how Rogue One ended.
Yeah, but that will work. But between 6 and 7, you couldn't do that because you need the old characters.
You don't need.
No,
listen,
how
how
are you going to
just need
portray
the
Harrison
character.
Ford?
You don't need to have Harrison Ford and the real people. The characters can still be there, but the real people don't have to be there anymore.
But you can class them as you can have them as references, because even if you have the prequels, right, they had references into how these original characters came into the Star Wars trilogy. But then with these ones, they kind of ruined it for themselves because they had no choice but to put them in, and it's difficult to put original trilogy into a completely new storyline because no one knows what to expect. No one knows how to respond to it.
Yeah, that doesn't. No, I'm not.
So do you think moving forward? I think moving forward, what they're going to do.
So then, let's look at it this way. Yeah, if they do more Marvel films, yeah, and they have Iron Man, do they have to go back to Robert Downey Jr.?
Yeah.
They
He's
don't.
going to be in. Isn't he going to be in? Isn't he going to be in a new one?
That's right.
It doesn't have to be Robert Downey Jr. It doesn't have to be him at all. They could get another person and play.
But then it starts looking like DC.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. As long as the story is right, the people can't always have the same job.
Like Batman, you mean, yeah?
It's proven that it does.
Don't do Batman. Please don't do Batman. Please, I beg you. Please don't do Batman. I beg of you. Please don't bring him into this. Let's just stick to Star Wars.
What you're actually proposing is that reality. If you do stuff like that, you end up with shit what DC do, where you've got a Joker for that one, a Batman for this. That is bullshit.
Yeah.
No one knows where they are.
I agree with Gary on that one, man.
It's the film industry. You can't keep the same person all
And
the
it's
time.
not working for DC.
It ends completely. It can't work like that. You have to have different people doing the same to be doing the same roles.
DC are forever rebooting shit, man. Like,
The only way that works is if you have a good story. A good story can distract you from the fact that it's a different actor. But they've shown that they can't do a good story, so it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Well, they're showing that they can with The Mandalorian. I mean,
but that's a different production direction team. But yeah,
and that character is something else. So that's.
But the thing is, I think that's probably how Star Wars kind of needs to go. The movies don't provide that information what fans are looking for now. With The Mandalorian, it's a series. Every episode provides new information and it covers the last episode. With movies, it takes a while to kind of grasp what you're understanding. And then, like these last three movies, they've skipped a whole kind of generation, missed out, like you're saying, gaps within the original trilogy, the original cast, and obviously with this cast, and you're not getting the full explanation of it all. And now that because it's now classed as the end saga, it's now left us with more questions to answer. I think the only way that they can save Star Wars and obviously this movie as a whole is just to let it end in the series and probably go back in between, like everyone else is saying. Do like an in between, how they done with Rogue One, between episode 6 and now episode 7. Just like a little series. Because everyone can't keep up.
You're saying not to go forward with new stuff. No one wants to see anything new. Is that what?
Well,
What's that again?
So he's talking about just with the TV shows. Like the TV shows can fill in some of the gaps.
Right.
When it comes to the cinema, like big movies, keep it going forward.
I'm not sure that the difference is TV and movies. I think the difference is production team. The production team for Mandalorian knows Star Wars and knows how to tell the story. Production team for the last 3 didn't have a clue about Star Wars, didn't know how to tell story.
Sure, but
you swap them over. Imagine if you swap them over. You swap the Mandalorian direction and production team with the last trilogy. We get a totally different product.
Yeah, but I agree. I totally agree. But I think
that's a totally different format.
And that's not fair.
There's more scope. There's more time. Yeah. You know, you can do a lot more.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying with these series. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying with the series. It has the time to explain where the gaps were in between 6 and 7, and it explain as to where the history came from, with Palpatine, with Skywalker, and with the whole First Order coming into grips with the original trilogy.
again, that's I think it's unfair to. I'm not supporting Star Wars here, but I think it's unfair to put it up against the Boba Fett thing or the Jango Fett thing, because at the end of the day, there's so much mystery behind that character that they can tell you anything. And they've got actual freedom and scope to do whatever they like, because there's nothing really out there to tell you.
I think that's where they're going to go forward with the Star Wars. Is they're going to
find the random characters
more
that ain't got
obscure characters.
They're going to find these
with a series. They can do, can't they? They can put,
start building up a story, and
that's
then
right.
to make a movie or basically pick out the best parts.
But then, if you watch the Clone Wars, the animation, you'll understand more about Mandalorians and their planet, their culture, and what makes them who they are.
That's right. You finished the argument. You finished the argument. That's my point exactly. My point exactly. You finished the
Watch
argument.
the cartoon.
Point exactly.
The animation's really good for that. It was it's coming again next year. Rebels and Clone Wars. It tells you how to make lightsabers. It shows you.
Thank you
all
for
the things that happen.
That's a good plug.
Yeah,
so I think we're all missing that.
Perfect answer.
I haven't watched any of it, and I think I need to be able to have a deeper appreciation.
It brings a different perspective into. It brings different perspective in regards to the clones, because you kind of think yourself in episode 3, all right, they're just mindless clones, they just instantly turned against everyone. But it kind of shows even a background into them, as in like there's a personality to each of them, and that some of them didn't even turn. And and within that content, we're able to get a better understanding of the movies of it as a whole. And I think that's what it kind of needs at this point to save the last trilogy. Put another series, maybe even not even as like a Mandalorian series, but even like as an animation, just to try and close the gaps that everyone else is kind of asking.
So just wanted to finish the last third of this talk on the direction of where Star Wars is going, because as I'm sure you guys probably know, what do you call it? David Benioff and DB, they're off from the Star Wars sort of project, so they're not involved anymore, which was a bit of a loss for some people. I guess for some other people, it's probably a good thing because of the way that Game of Thrones ended. But now they're talking about Kevin Feige coming on board, and for me, that's a good thing. I mean, but maybe that means it's going to have an impact on Marvel output. Yeah, just curious to know your thoughts and what you think about that. But is it a good thing? Is it good we've lost the Game of Thrones front runner guys? Now we've got Kevin Feige for the next Star Wars film. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's a sure thing when it comes to overseeing, major projects and stuff like that. He's already on Disney's payroll. I mean, as long as his attention isn't too deviated from Marvel, then it should be a good thing, because he literally is a bankable executive. So he said he's a lifelong Star Wars fan. He knows how to handle an ensemble of characters. Yeah. He knows how to deal with stories, and he's got respect in the game. So hopefully he'll do a good job. He can't do any worse anyway.
Yeah.
I think,
and then you'll probably be shocked when he does.
I think he'll be all right. He should be all right. And it won't be all him, by the way. His name will be on top, but he'll put together a good team.
Yeah.
I think the one good thing about him is that he's good at looking at things holistically, like the overall plan, right? So hopefully he will map out, he will know how he wants it to end, and kind of like just look at everything holistically. And that's what the last few were missing.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like disjointed, very uncertain, like just the confidence.
Yeah.
Like there's the one thing that I always felt, as much as like as a Star Wars fan, I thought the Force Awakens was interesting, but it did kind of feel like a reboot, and they was trying to sort of get fans in. They weren't catering just to the Star Wars fans, and that was a problem. They wasted one film doing that. and then they mess up the film after that, and then the last one has to kind of pick up all the pieces and doesn't have it, and then the identity's gone, and all it is nostalgia, and all of the nostalgia didn't even feel earned. That's the problem. Like there was no chills when you saw the X-Wing come up and all of these things, and I'm like, damn, man, I'm seeing what made everything, and it didn't feel it didn't feel the way it should. I don't know. Things just didn't feel earned the way well, for me anyway, the way it should have.
Yeah, I think that's all very valid points, man. But yeah, hopefully in new hands, sort of a better, safer direction. Gavin, we're just talking about the fact that Kevin Feige is taking the reins for the next Star Wars film.
What is it going to be?
Marvel. He's been behind the whole Marvel sort of.
I know he is.
Yeah, exactly. So.
When is it going to be? When is it going to?
We don't know yet. We don't know yet.
Yeah, there's no dates yet. It's just.
I did hear though. I did hear that they're not using they're not kind of framing it around the trilogy or anything like that. It's just one film at a time.
Yeah.
That's what I heard anyway. Yeah.
So that's Kevin Feige's involvement, but we've still got Rian Johnson, who is going to have a trilogy. So it's like he's doing the next set of Star Wars trilogy type films. Are we excited about that? I mean, I know I'm not.
Last Jedi is the worst film ever made.
Really.
So from Gavin's perspective, worst film ever made is being like the guy behind it is getting to make 3 more. And Kathleen,
that might change. You know what it's like. It might change.
Do you know what though? Right? I'm gonna say something about Rian Johnson's Last Jedi. Like you and I, Abby, we spoke about this, right? And we pretty much agreed. But the one thing I will say is that, like, I didn't agree with his decisions, but at least he made some bold decisions that could have, like, been distinctive. I almost think, especially after seeing this last one, that if he had made some first of all, if he had started this new trilogy and made some bold decisions that we had liked, that could have been interesting, right? Because he made a lot of statements in that second one where he was like almost saying that he felt shackled to Star Wars, like all of the legacy and stuff, crushing Vader helmet, all this sort of stuff. And basically J.J. Abrams just kind of, redone, just kind of ignored all of that.
But that's what he was probably told to do.
Yeah, exactly. But like I say, I didn't agree with his decisions, but what I did admire was that there were bold ones. And I feel like that if this new trilogy had started with some bold, not defined by the previous ones, but obviously, kind of hinting and being of that world, would have been much more of its own kind of, path. But everything just was like shackled to the whole. It didn't feel uplifted because of the universe. It felt like held down, I feel like.
Actually, what you're saying kind of makes sense as to why he's kind of been given this opportunity.
100%.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Because I was thinking, why him? But yeah, he didn't get to do what he really could have done. I guess he didn't get to full potential because he was having to deal with some past. So yeah, now he gets a chance to really shine. Let's see what he can do. No excuses, no
Hey,
issues.
can I just
Do you know what? Yeah.
Can I just say something though? Whose decision was it to make a ship look like a ship landing, turn into an iron on a uniform? What part of that is bold?
Oh, right, yeah, I remember.
Do you remember that scene? When I saw that scene,
that cut.
I nearly got up and walked out. I was like, what are they playing at?
Worst film ever made.
That's not someone trying to...
Like I say, man, I'm not...
That's not someone trying to step out of the shadow. Like Gavin says.
Like I'm saying, I'm not saying that I agreed with his decisions, but what...
No, I get what you're saying. But he needs to be on another project. He needs to be on another project. You can't put him on the second film.
Has anyone seen his latest film? Because Knives Out is actually good.
I heard that's great.
I didn't watch that purely based on the name. In this day and age, how you got a film coming out with Knives Out?
You know what, Gavin? I almost didn't watch it because of the same thing. I was like, do you know what? I don't want to give this guy... He messed up. He had a good opportunity with this Last Jedi. But do you know what? To try and put that out of mind, because he made a good film.
I heard it's good.
Last Jedi is the worst film ever made. Straight up. Like, I'm not even just saying it to be a thing. It is, because at the end of the day, to make something that bad with the back catalogue and history you had to make something at least suitable, you've gone and made that.
Do you know, as much as I agree, I feel like that is a heavy sort of thing.
burden.
You just have to. It wasn't a heavy burden because it was set up for you to just make a carbon copy of The Empire Strikes Back. That's all you had to do. Because that's
why would anyone want to do that? Why make?
Because J.J. Abrams
making a carbon copy. It'd be Custer making a carbon copy. He didn't do that. That was right. That was J.J. Abrams. Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So all you had to do is just follow suit and play it safe. But instead, you went and done that nonsense.
And if you played it safe, we'll all be having this conversation saying, he played it safe.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I'd rather say he played it safe than he did what he did. Playing it safe is better than
playing it safe. You don't change the world, innit? You got to try something different. Whether you win or fail, at least you can say, "Yep, I tried it different."
Corbyn.
Huh?
Corbyn, yeah? That sounds like Corbyn talk, man.
Okay,
that's a whole nother level, yeah? I'm out in the David system. You're on Earth chatting about politics.
I don't know what you and Chewy are doing, mate. You don't look like you're going somewhere like you're in the millennium.
Get me out of it, yeah?
You don't look like all of a sudden he's going to flick the switches on the roof and then... That's another thing. The new Star Wars films fucked up Lightspeed for me.
Okay.
Lightspeed was one of the highlights of my childhood. When them lights come in and it zings off, but now it just disappears and then it appears somewhere. It's like, what?
Okay, yeah, maybe you should watch this latest one, Gav, because I think it's...
I ain't going to watch.
He's not going.
He's not going to anyway. So just moving on then, away from the films. So TV show-wise, we're getting the Rogue One prequel TV show. Don't know if you've heard of that, but
what's that?
Rogue One prequel TV show. Yeah.
Who's doing that?
I don't know all the details. I just know what's coming. And then we've got the Obi-Wan TV show, which I think most of us already know about. I don't know when that's dropping, but that's definitely happening.
2021.
2021. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, there you go. So those are two hotly anticipated TV shows. I don't think anyone on here would have an issue with them.
No, the Obi-Wan one sounds like the best one out of them all because I'm still perplexed as to when he became a Jedi Master. Like fully, I don't fully understand.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot to be filled in there. That's a good move.
Okay. And what, you're not excited about Rogue One? I mean, I think that's...
No, they've told that story though.
Don't need to, man.
What else is there to be told?
No, Rogue One.
He shouldn't even have been in it.
It's more to do with the different rebel groups that were doing Rogue One type work at that period of time. And so they can bring all kinds of new characters and different missions and stuff like that. So it's going to be quite fresh, to be honest.
Okay. Well, yeah, for me, the TV shows, like, just generally just seem to be the way forward, man. Like, streaming, you can just do whatever you want. There's more scope.
And they own more of it. That's why they do it.
What's that?
Yeah.
And they own more of it. For them, why would they need to go to the cinemas and stuff when they can have it on their channel and make you pay for it direct? And it's about the money. That's all it is. Because no matter what way you spin it, and they should have done this, should have done that, they're not looking at it in terms of what you want. It's what they need, and they want your money.
No, I think there's definitely no denying that it's a money game. You know, it's definitely. But if they can strike both like points, making the money and telling a good story, which I'm hoping they're going to be able to do with the TV show.
They're not interested in that. They're really not. They got it kind of right with Marvel.
The money doesn't get made. Like, you can only get away with that for so long. Tell shit stories.
The Lego costs and shit like that. The money's getting made, bro. It's not that. They've made that. You can't. It's like that's like flipping and buying a franchise or one of them McDonald's kind of things. You're guaranteed to make the money back without actually making a decent burger. They're gonna make their money. It's just they just got to find new ways to kind of fleece the next generation coming up, and that's all they're doing. They're not catering for me and you and all of us. They're catering for the next set of kids coming up. That just it's about heroes. From what I remember, the Last Jedi, at the end of it, there was like fat Oriental chick that was kind of lesbian. I don't know if she fancied a black dude. There was a black dude. There was this. There was just loads of different things for people to identify. It wasn't just Luke with blonde hair and Han. There was lots of different shades, types genders, transgender, all types of shit.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, for you to identify with. So they've got the market sold, like, based on those different characters. And that's where they'll take each and every one of them on different journeys. So you'll be a hero in your own right. Whereas before, growing up, you just had to be one of 3 people, and that's it. So they will make their money quite easily. That's not an issue. They're just not catering for you, I, and anyone else.
So on that point, I mean, I don't know, has anyone got any ideas of what, I mean, obviously our thoughts and our opinions aren't ever going to be heard unless someone happens to tap into the Flicksters from Disney. You never know. That devours one half of the Flicksters podcast you guys should all be listening to. But yeah, I don't know. I'll be interested to hear what you actually think should be happening. Aside from the going into the backstory of Obi-Wan, this Rogue One prequel, what should we be seeing? What would you be happy? What would you be happy to pay for?
I think that they're gonna, in the next Star Wars, it's gonna be like there's gonna be a new threat. They're gonna be searching the galaxy for new Jedis.
Oh, but wait, Gavin, no, sorry. What I meant is that what would you want? What do you think we should see?
I think they should go more.
That's what
like,
I'm saying.
Oh, I think it sounded like you talking about what's coming.
I don't know.
It sounded like he's talking about what's coming.
You know what I want? You know what I want? Yeah, what I want, right? Here's what I want. I want I want the Jedi to establish themselves again as a brand new academy again, but in the background there have been a discovery of a Sith planet. And there are Sith being trained everywhere, and there's a planet of Sith waiting to go. And then they start flying over, doing little beams, and they have a big war at the end. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what the books used to do. That's how the books were rolling. There was a planet of Sith, and then they all got exposed, and they all came, and there was a war. I want that. I want to see something that's got edge, where stories could be unlimited stories.
Yeah.
I want a dark version.
Not just one Sith, not just 2 Sith, and that don't do nothing for us. We want to see an unlimited story.
Yeah.
Never ending.
I want a dark version. I want it to be like.
Well,
I want it to be like Dark Knight.
In the whole Star Wars,
Dark Knight. Oh, come on.
Like a kind of dark version of Star Wars where it's not light-hearted. It's actually quite just dark.
Rogue One.
You want dark?
No, that's not dark.
Zack Snyder can do that.
Rogue One was dark.
Zack Snyder will make it dark.
Everyone died. Everyone died.
We all knew they was going to die. We all knew they was going to die. You knew they was going to die.
No, you didn't.
Of course you did.
How?
Because otherwise they would have been in the original
in Star Wars. No one dies in Star Wars, really. They die.
That sounds like
got blown up.
You knew they weren't going to survive. That was the thing. It said
they could have lived and just led a quiet life. We know what Star Wars is like.
No, they blew up the planet.
They don't tell us anything, innit?
Do you know what I want to see?
Yeah,
what I want to see. I want to see the story of Darth Vader going from Anakin to Darth Vader, like the bad Darth Vader that we see now. Because I've seen a few comics where, like, you know, where they send him to planets and he like wipes out planets. That's what I want to see. I want to see them kind of stories where we think, what? Darth Vader wasn't just like a bad Vader memory. Yeah, the dark one, exactly. I want to see that. I want to see him killing off bare people, killing off planets, making us feel like, wow, this guy was really on another level.
That's definitely going to happen on Disney.
Huh?
That's definitely
for real.
on Disney, but yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Maybe a Dark Horse comic or something.
I think Disney's going to have to go down that way anyway, though.
Really?
Disney's never going to get dark. Disney's too light for that, man.
Yeah.
Disney's not going to get.
Have you seen the toys? Have you seen the merchandise? If the merchandise is anything to go by, you're not seeing dark at all. It's just all
Disney can do what the hell they like, man.
In this new film, Gavin, they've got this mechanic with big eyes and a squeaky voice. That's the future. Unfortunately, that seems like it's the future.
It sounds like that robot in Rogue One. I kind of like that robot in Rogue One, to be fair. I did. That's one of the better ones. That black kind of tall thing. It sounds like me. Yeah, that black tall thing. I don't know, the one that can't. You know, the robot. The one.
Yeah, K2SO. I think is.
Yeah, I liked him.
In The Force Awakens, there was like a little connection between Flynn and Rey. Yeah. I thought they were going to do something because that.
Oh, yeah.
But of course,
Yeah.
But of course, yeah, Disney can't make a black dude link up with a white girl.
You reckon?
In that kind of
That's what
way.
it came
So
to.
they had to lock it off.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you know what? We didn't get a chance to even talk about that. So, because that was weird. What happened at the end was weird, man. I don't know. I didn't really understand what was going on. Where Ray,
how was he feeling her feelings?
Was kind of doing something and it didn't happen. And then what was Finn going to say?
Also,
yeah.
Also, do you remember when they were in the quicksand and Finn was about to say like, he was like, I wanted to tell you something. You know, it almost felt like he was, you know, he thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
And he was going to confess something to her.
Yeah.
And nothing else happened.
That just went.
I think he was going to confess that he can feel the force or something like that.
Wasn't it going to be, I love you?
Seriously, because in some kind of way, he was feeling the force throughout the film.
Who died?
Feeling the force.
Finn could feel the force.
But if any of you can help just answer this, because I didn't understand what was going on between Ben and Ray at the end with a kiss.
Kylo Ren.
Who's Ben?
What's his government name, man? Kylo Ren.
It wasn't Kylo Ren at the end.
Who's Ben? Ben's Obi-Wan.
Kylo Ren.
It wasn't Kylo Ren at the end.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Ben, yeah.
Yeah.
His real name Ben.
Ben was kissing Ray.
Wait, who's Ben?
Okay, so Kylo Ren, yeah.
Ben Solo.
Kylo Ren.
Solo.
That is his name, Ben.
Gavin.
I'm not watching that.
Gavin.
You don't have to watch it, blood.
Who paid
You don't
to
have
see
to
that?
watch it. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. Boycott it. Don't watch it. You get yourself mad.
It, but you used the name Ben once. Like, you can't use the name Ben again in the same.
Sorry,
Ben is his
my bad.
Ben is his good side, and Kylo Ren is his alter.
I'm just saying Ben because he loses the Kylo Ren sort of attachment. Whatever. Just what is that? What's going on there? Can anyone explain that? Because it made no sense. I thought that
the kissing? What, the kissing, or you mean that
whole link? I thought it was more of a we're kind of brother, sister, cousin kind of vibe, not romantically. Maybe we could, and that's what it kind of turned into.
All right.
And by doing that, it kind of just diminished any kind of romantic involvement with Finn. Like that just disappeared. What was the meaning behind it all? Like
because he was no longer Kylo Ren.
Yeah, but
so remember
the whole build up from the very beginning. So from the very beginning of the film, it was a case of Finn falling for Ray. There's a romantic thing going on. It continued with the second film when it looked like Finn had a new love interest, but he was still very focused on Ray. And Ray, although she was focused on becoming a Jedi master, or just a Jedi, there was still a possibility of them getting together. So there was still that thread, and it's almost like it just did an overhaul and completely came away from that, because it felt like there was something in that. There's a bigger thing going on.
What, in the kids?
And I just wanted to know if anyone...
You mean in the kids?
Anyone else had an idea on that, because I had no clue what was going on at the end.
Broken story.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've concluded, but I just thought if anyone else had a better idea on it, then, but I just felt like that's a waste.
I also think that Kylo Ren was one of the most wasted characters. Like, from when I first saw him in Force Awakens,
holding the laser,
when he's holding the bolt.
Exactly.
Oh my days! When I saw that, I was like, this guy could be the one.
Yep. That had me. I was like, wow, haven't seen that before. Where did they get this?
Kylo Ren was one of the most disappointing character turnarounds in the film. Like, from the beginning, when he came out and he stopped the bolt in the laser shot. And just how his demeanor, it just made me think, okay, there's another Darth Vader on that level. And from that point, I expected him to just keep going up in terms of like how bad he was. From the moment when he took off his mask, took off his mask. As soon as he took off his mask, I was like,
Oh wait, hold on, Abby, you saw it, right? Basically, General, is it General Hux?
Yeah,
as well.
He's another one as well, because he changes. In this one, he basically, he's the mole.
But I could understand that, because he was not happy with the power play that was going on with Kylo Ren. So you could understand that he had an agenda. He did not like that guy at all, and it came to a point where he didn't care. So I could connect with that. I could understand that. But the whole Ren and Finn, I just don't have a clue about that. So yeah, as much as the General Hux thing was a bit of a turnaround, it did make sense to some degree. But yeah, a lot of the other things didn't. But I guess, like Jonathan's already said, and I think we've all agreed on, it was a lot of heavy lift. Paul said it's heavy lifting, broken story, which I totally agree. There's too much to connect and make sense. So we're just gonna have to accept that it.
Shit.
You know. So that's just that. You know. Will we get to see what we want to see in future? Probably not. But at least we've got a couple of good things on the way with the TV show announcements. I think that's something to look forward to. And Kevin Feige, that's promising, you know. And Rian Johnson, I hope, fingers crossed, I hope that something comes of that. Only time will tell. But yeah, you know, based on what Paul just said, I think there's a chance. You know, let's see what he can do.
If he's on it, I ain't never going to see one of his Star Wars films again, man.
Wow. John, I try and see Knives Out. That might restore your faith.
No.
Just the ability to tell the story. And
I'm not watching that based on principle.
Okay. Paul, have you seen it? Paul?
I haven't, no, but I do want to see it, actually.
Yeah.
I've heard very good things about it.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to see it. It's good. You know, obviously it's not Star Wars, but it's just the fact that he can tell a good story with a good ending. He knows how to use his actors. So yeah, I would.
Who's that? Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
Then why didn't he do it then?
Well, as we were saying before, arguably he had a tall order. It's a big task, you know. And yeah, he did some bold things, like Paul said. It could have worked. Unfortunately, it didn't. You know, but he was.
Listen to what you just said. You just said he can tell a good story. He knows to use characters. But he was given this trilogy with abundance of backing and money and funds and all that. Why couldn't he do it?
Yeah, because he was carrying on from what JJ.
No, that's not the answer. If you're a seasoned director, you know what you're doing. You've been given a budget. You know what the backstory is. You chose to mess up the story, man.
Jonathan, it's not as simple as that, man. You could look. Take Martin Scorsese, for example. You never see him make a sci-fi film because he does drama.
That's not his lane. Yep.
You know? So you know, someone's not going to jump out of their lane.
Are you saying that this wasn't Rian Johnson's lane?
He's done Webcast. So
if you look at majority of his films, his majority of his films are original films, original scripts that he's written himself and directed.
Yeah.
I'm not making no excuses, but I'm just saying, like, this is one of the first times that he's jumped into a franchise and obviously didn't handle it very well. You know, he started off with many sort of independent films and small budget films, actually.
Yeah.
But always been a massive fan of, you know, Star Wars, like everybody else. And let's be honest, right at the beginning, Star Wars was an independent film. It was a small film in that landscape of that time. You know, I don't know. But yeah, like I said, I'm not making no excuses for him, but it was the first time that he actually jumped into a franchise. And
you know what? He's not the first. Like Josh Trank. I mean, he came
exactly,
and he was a very good director, man.
100%.
He was great. So that's another example of how someone can go into a franchise or something, or, you know, and studio. Who knows what happens?
And you are and let's be honest, you are directing.
Which one?
And it's not just the one person you're making.
Josh. Yeah. What did Josh Trank do? Which film did he do?
Oh, he did
The Chronicle.
Before, but yeah, the first film he did was amazing. Yeah, man. So yeah,
Chronicle, wasn't it?
Yeah, Chronicle, exactly. It's not an easy transition to make, you know, but at least he made something, man. I mean, I know that's not good enough, but at least he pulled something off, and there is now a chance for him to really redeem himself. Maybe it's too late for you, Jonathan, and you, Gavin, but I would like to see what he can do now with no excuses, no restrictions.
Nah, man, move out of Star Wars. Don't do something with Star Wars. Go do something else.
They're going to do Star Trek.
From my point of view, what I understand to be the issues is that George Lucas handed it over to Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy said she was going to back what George Lucas wanted. She had her own agenda, and she picked him because he was going to subvert expectation and do what he wanted to do, and she knew that. And between both of them, they messed it up. They messed up Star Wars. He didn't make a mistake. He purposely decided, I'm going to do what people don't want me to do. I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to do. He made all these gambles that didn't work. I don't think he made a mistake. I think, like you say, he knows what he's doing. But I think he decided to go against the grain, and now it's come to bite them in the butt, and they don't like it. That's what I think happened, and that's why I think they should just take him out of Star Wars. Why bring him back into Star Wars? Go and do whatever you want to do.
To quote Kathleen Kennedy, they liked what he did with The Last Jedi, so that's why he get another chance. So
who's they? Who's they liked it?
Kathleen Kennedy and the VPs, man. I don't know the higher ups, but yeah. So whether we like it or not, we're getting it. So whether you choose to see it or not, they're making their money. So you can't fight it. You might as well just see what at least give it a chance. I suppose you can't avoid it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if he steps away, man. He got abused for that last one. He got brutalized.
Wow.
It was. I mean, you could look into that. I mean, Twitter just destroyed him. He just. Yeah. I mean, it made a whole ton of money, but boy, he got abused.
That should teach him a lesson. I mean, in a way, we should now get something that won't cause the same kind of madness. So I don't know. It could be a good thing. We'll see. But yeah, guys, thank you very much, and I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your evenings. And hopefully see you soon.